Hello and welcome to Attapod, a podcast by the Australian Taxpayers Alliance. I'm your host, Emilio Garcia. Today, we discuss a crackdown on man's best friend joining you for a drink, as well as GetUp's completely reprehensible attempt to fundraise off a tragedy. Please enjoy the episode, and don't forget to stick around after the episode to learn more about the ATA. Please enjoy the episode. Here we are once again in the Australian Taxpayers Alliance office. I'm joined by Emily Dye and Brian Marlowe.
G'day.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. So we're going to start the episode off kind of light, but also, on a very sad note for our best friends. Yes, being man, humankind. We haven't been very kind to our dogs lately, have we, Emily?
We have not.
What happened? What happened to doggos?
Yeah, so city councils have been shutting down dog-friendly bars because of so-called health violations.
Okay.
There's this one bar that they have like a dog area on the outside.
Okay.
But you have to walk your dog through the bar to get to the dog area outside. So like, no, we're going to fine you.
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
So they have an area in the back of their restaurant, of the restaurant or the bar.
Yeah.
Dogs can go there, but they don't allow any kind of of movement from the entrance to the area.
Exactly.
Where the dogs can be, where dogs can go.
Yeah, so the dog-friendly area fits all the regulations and whatnot.
Wait. So does that mean they
Yeah, they have to magically appear.
Yes.
Can someone carry the dog there or no?
No, it just can't transition through the building.
That's like decriminalizing something.
God, I know that this is going to sidetrack the podcast, but I hate bureaucrats so goddamn much because, just ban it. Just ban it.
Yes.
Right? Just own the fact that you don't want dogs in pubs and ban it. But they don't. So they go, we're not banning dogs in pubs, but they can't transport through the pub.
Right.
They want to have their cake and eat it too, right? And
right.
It's bullshit.
Well, I don't understand how someone could have an area that is, where dogs can be, but there's no way for dogs to get there.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I use the decriminalizing analogy. Because, essentially, you can have marijuana on you, but you can't buy it and you can't grow it.
And we won't legalize it.
Exactly.
In any way, shape, or form. It's
right.
What?
So how am I supposed to get it? Is it just supposed to appear?
It appears from the magical
weed fairy.
and just rocks up. But, so
is there any legitimate claim to this health thing?
I mean, maybe it's not a good idea to have dogs in the kitchen.
Okay.
Or licking your food, whatnot.
Oh, well.
But
yeah,
that's not what's happening here. It's like they're trying to transition the dog through the building to go to a dog area. They're not even keeping the dogs in the building, which I think should be allowed. It's like if you go to a dog-friendly pet pub, if you want to have your dog sitting by your table, dogs should be allowed to sit. Why not? Like, what's wrong with that?
But also, why can't I just accept the risk that if I go to a dog-friendly pub, that maybe something, maybe
might happen.
It won't meet the same health standards as a pristine place. But why does that matter? I'm an adult. I can join the military. I can go and die somewhere. I can pay my taxes. I can vote and go to prison if I commit a crime. But I can't
make your own choice.
Make my choice to go to a pub that allows my dog to also come along.
I think that's the issue. You're an adult, and you think that grants you some kind of level of responsibility that the government should
assess risk on your own.
Yeah, which of course the government, especially here in New South Wales, is not going to be for. Now, we like to take aim at Victoria often, and with with virtuous cause sometimes, I think. But honestly, I don't know if we have legs to stand on. So, Brian, what do you think? Coming from New South Wales, do you think it's fair for us to, kind of call Victoria?
Pot calling kettle black here, right? So it's haha, Victoria, your stupid nanny state doesn't allow dogs in pubs.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens if we want to go out and smile at night time? Well, no, Gladys might shut that down.
Bad.
But it's just the growing nanny state, right? And it knows no state boundaries, it knows no limitations, it's always one thing after another.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that it starts somewhere where people kind of don't really care, and it just keeps on going.
This is an example of just something that affects very few people that can actually have a detrimental effect on a business. So what I mean by that is, how many people are going to get sick because you're allowing dogs to transition from the door into the backyard area of a pub?
Probably none.
None. Probably none if that place lasts 100 years, right? But now that place has lost a very significant point of differentiation for itself.
Yes.
That pub, one of the great reasons that people go there is because that's the place where you can either take dogs or go chill with dogs, right? And now, because of a non-issue, they're going to the pubs that decided to use that as a point of differentiation and said, you can't do it anymore, or we're going to make it a lot harder for you.
Well, I mean, we are talking about fringe of a fringe issue, right? But the thing is, it's the ramifications of, okay, well, if the council can dictate where I can take my dog and whether that private business can allow a dog inside, what else can they dictate?
Yes.
Can they dictate trading hours? They certainly do that.
What if I want my dog in my kitchen?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Someday they might say that's not cool.
Not allowed.
Well, I mean, this is, of course, as you say, I don't think that this is a pivotal moment legislatively in Australia or anything, or New South Wales. I don't think that it's going to make the history books.
No, it's not, but it's just a sign of the creeping nanny state and how bullshit it is.
I think it just represents it very well. I think it's a non-issue causing all of these problems for businesses for essentially no benefit.
What it is you talk to pub owners around here at the time of when lockouts came in, and they're like,
so
where's
here
all this coming from?
King's Cross.
Yeah, here in King's Cross. And I remember at the time, they're like, where is all this coming from? Why are they doing this all of a sudden? It's like, well, all those times you saw some stupid thing and you thought, oh, that's a dumb nanny state restriction, but you didn't really push back against it. That's what allowed it to then just ratchet up and ratchet up and ratchet up. And it goes back to what we've spoken about a few times, which is that, it's like cutting away at something. You never really notice. Or putting a frog in cold water and then slowly turning the heat up. It doesn't notice until all of a sudden it's dead.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. Yeah, okay. At one point it's just dogs not being able to go to pubs with their owners. And then it's dictating, what can be sold at what times to whom. And just continuously strangling these businesses. And the other thing is, it actually benefits larger corporations. It benefits larger businesses. So, the guy running a little corner pub somewhere finds all of a sudden he's losing a couple of customers. He's got very small margins, very small profit margins. He can't serve certain things at certain times. In New South Wales, if you run a burger shop, you can't sell pink burgers.
Right. Which is catastrophic, by the way.
Which is catastrophic because
just ruining burgers for everyone.
Who wants a well-done burger ruining?
Exactly. Who wants a well-done burger?
Gladys Berejiklian.
Oh yes, I'm sure. Made of babies. No, but I think the point here. I mean, I don't think it's lost on our listeners that we're not actually up in arms about the fact that they passed a law that says that you can't bring your dog into the pub. I mean, we think that it's stupid. We stand against these types of regulations. We don't think that this is going to have some kind of massively detrimental effect on business or whatever. But I think that the issue is that if we don't start to mention these types of things, like you said before, if we just let the small ones go, and we say, well, that's not that important, that's not that pivotal, then they just keep doing little things, little regulations, until suddenly the casserole of regulations just comes together to really mess things up.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to add is this isn't a Victoria law. This is a federal law. Victoria is just choosing to enforce it.
Really?
Oh, I see.
Yes. So it's a federal health law that's instituted everywhere. And most pubs in most states are just like, that's stupid.
This is why you're our new policy director. I don't pay attention to the detail. I just get grumpy in the office.
Had we mentioned that you're the new policy director? Okay, well, I guess we have an announcement for our audience, by the way. Emily Dye is the new policy director, and I'm taking over her position.
This is the part where you edit in the air horns.
I can do that.
Yeah.
We had to delete a comment I made earlier, so might as well get to editing.
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Well, that's...
we don't need to edit that out.
Exactly.
We can keep that there.
These regulations are stupid, and also Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yes. And also, I am up in arms about dogs not being in pubs. I think
it's ridiculous.
There's a pub in Leichhardt that I used to go to where I could take my dog, and they've changed that now, so I can't.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And now I don't go there.
And now Misty has to stand outside, cold in the rain,
watching
shivering, crying, wondering where Daddy is. It's terrible.
I think if anyone shouldn't be allowed in pubs, it's people that don't like dogs. I think we should have a sign on all pubs.
Because they're going to shoot the place up. Who doesn't like dogs?
Exactly. It's like you're not clearly not human, so that would be allowing an animal in the pub.
This is true. Well, I want to make one more point just about the nanny state before we move on to our next subject, which is, and I've used this example with you guys privately before, but I don't think I've said it on the podcast. Is that when I just arrived in Australia, I was still a student, and I was going out a lot, and there was this one area, I think it was near Ultimo, and maybe Chippendale, and the thing is, when we wanted to take shots, my friends and I, the bartender told us we had to go to the bar and take them in view of her, which we thought was strange, and generally just grab the shots, take them to your table, whatever. But no, like, she was prohibited by law to pour us shots and let us take to our table, right? Now, what I thought was probably happening is that there were like 2 or 3 incredibly strange people ordering 7 shots, taking it to their table, and drinking all of them, which is things that sociopaths do. But then, essentially, the council said, well, we have people doing this weird thing. 7 people are doing this weird thing where they drink 7 shots at once. What do we do about it? Like, oh, I know, let's inconvenience everybody. Let's burden every single consumer that wants a shot and drinks it responsibly. And I think that's just a great way to exemplify the way in which bureaucrats opt to solve an issue. It's not through some kind of intelligent application of policy. It's just burden everyone to eliminate a very niche problem.
Yeah, well, it's a niche problem. It's really easy to solve. Let them take the 7 shots back to their table. Let them take the 7 shots, and in the morning they'll be like, never ever doing that again.
Or they'll get something out. It's a ham-fisted approach, right? Because bureaucrats are jacks of all trades and masters of nothing, so they don't know how to handle policy. They just have a very drop the hammer approach to things, which then creates all kinds of other issues that they then drop the hammer on. Their ham-fisted approach to public policy creates all these unintended consequences that they then put more ham-fisted approaches to, and it's just it's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, sometimes it's just better to lay off, because let's say, for example, if this became a trend and people were taking shots at their table, that would have become a problem for bars.
Oh yeah,
bars would have taken care of it, and they would have done so much, much better. They probably would have gotten their security to keep an eye out for people ordering shots. It would have been much less burdensome for everyone else. But of course, the heavy hand of government had to come in and fix it for us. And here we are.
I think we can all agree, breaking news, government bad.
And FC didn't kill himself. Okay, we're going to move on to less funny news, I think less tongue-in-cheek news, because all across our state and parts of Victoria, I believe, there are fires that are just going
a lot of it's
crazy.
Concentrated in the mid-north coast of New South Wales at the moment.
Right. That's where it's getting really serious. Obviously, we've had some people dying. Lots of houses have been lost. A lot of wildlife that we're fond of. Some koala colonies have been wiped away, which is very sad. And obviously, if you're listening to this and it hasn't been resolved by then, which it probably won't, but pray that it is, go to our Facebook page where we're promoting a GoFundMe. It's going directly to the victims and the relief effort. So please, if you can, just give a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. But the reason we want to touch on this is because there's a group who isn't very fond of us, by the way, through direct and or indirect means.
Was it something we said?
Well, they're called Get Up.
Yes.
Do you know Get Up? Have you heard of Get Up?
Just a couple of times.
Exactly. Maybe. So Get Up essentially saw that these people were suffering, losing their houses, there were people dying, and they said, well, the reason for this is because of climate change. And essentially, politicians in the last, I don't know, how long ago did the Liberals win?
They won earlier this year.
Yeah, okay. So less than a year ago, these politicians came into power, and they caused global warming to get so terrible that they caused these fires. Yeah. So what you need to do is give us money, not the relief effort, give us money to lobby the public into not voting for Liberals anymore.
Yeah, I think
how
just to
low?
Really, I think
how
just
low?
To really drive it home, essentially what they did is they sent out a fundraising email to all of their supporters going, there are bushfires in the mid-north coast and people are dying and there's houses being destroyed, so give us money so we can engage in political campaigning against the Liberals. As opposed to help the people out. which is ridiculous. So, I mean, we've been pushing the GoFundMe campaign that was actually set up by people in the affected areas. Every dollar that's raised goes towards buying, clothing and all the kinds of stuff that's going to help the people that have lost their houses. Because when they lose their house in a bushfire, they also lose everything inside it.
That's right.
And it's just, I don't like politicizing tragedies, which is why we haven't been putting out stuff, saying it's X, Y, and Z's fault for the bushfires. Let's just help the people out that are actually dying and being affected by this, and then we can focus on the causes later. But to see that come out of an organisation that claims that they represent the everyday Australian and claims that they, are essentially high-minded and woke, it's just fucking gross.
Oh, it's shameless. And I think a lot of people have been acting very badly in...
This is a similar thing. It happens every time there's a shooting in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's immediately attack the guns, attack the party, attack the Republicans. It's Republicans' fault.
You barely even notice that there's some kind of fundraiser to help people that are in the hospital at the moment. You barely notice that there's there are things that can be done to help the local law enforcement to keep the area safe. No. The first thing is, whose fault is it? How can we make this? How can we play to our constituents? And the same thing is happening here to a degree.
Yeah, it's how can I get angry at, quote unquote, the other side? So it's not just a left wing thing. We've seen right wingers go out there and say, well, this is the Greens' fault. And it's like, okay, well, sure, there's some policies around collecting dead wood in national forests and things like that, national parks rather, that should be amended. Sure. Is that the conversation that needs to be had right now?
No.
Or should we just help the people that are being affected?
That's exactly right.
My money's on help the people that are being affected, which is why in the office we've been pulling together like spare clothes and all the old stuff that we don't need. I'll be driving it out to someone later this afternoon who is then going to be taking it up to Tari over the weekend.
Yeah, and we're not standing on a soapbox here. I think what we're trying to say, and the only reason we're even bringing this up, is because let's try to refocus the way that we're looking at an issue like this. When things like this happen in Australia, let's stop the being political for just a few days, at least on this issue, and just focus on the affected people. I think that's just an easy thing to do, and the reason we bring up Get Up is because it's just very offensive to everyone involved that someone would use the tragedy that is affecting their property, their family, their home, their environment, essentially, animals and trees and all these things that are just completely getting wiped off the face of the earth. Using it to get more money in their pockets to forward their own political interests, I think is really disgusting.
Yeah, and it's something that, I would never even consider doing that. Just the idea of fundraising off of a tragedy like this to not even directly help the victims, right?
Yeah.
Just to go into a campaign fund to then campaign in the future on question mark. Yeah. It's bullshit, and the people that punch that out should at least apologize.
The issue with Get Up,
refund the money.
With Get Up and organizations that are similar ideologically to Get Up, is that they're masters of narrative. They don't care about anyone really. What they care about is crafting a narrative and using that to forward a political agenda. So it's not that they care about disaffected people. We've seen them abandon their cause célèbre from one second to another when another more attractive one comes along. So they don't care about people losing their home. They don't care if tomorrow it changes from climate warming to climate cooling. They don't care. What they care about is forwarding a left-wing agenda by going against anyone who is to the right of Lenin, essentially. And that's the reason that I think that something like this would happen. We wouldn't consider it because I don't think that we're partisan players, but we're not partisan players to the degree that we don't actually care about anything except getting our outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. It's the thing where we have to have someone be at fault. It's this human nature thing. It's like, whose fault is this? Why are we having these bushfires? Well, sometimes bad things happen. Yeah. Sometimes bushfires happen. You happen to have a tree in Australia that's incredibly flammable.
Yeah.
And that's why you have exceptionally bad bushfires, which we don't have in the US. We have bad fires, but not like that.
Right.
And yes, maybe forest management is a huge contributor. Maybe it's the weather. The weather does contribute.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that contribute to this.
Yeah.
And we don't need to place blame.
Well, it's also such a huge territory that to try to allocate blame to a single person, organization, ideology, council, party, whatever, is ridiculous.
It's very
because there's so many things that can happen in such a large area. So many decisions get made. So many different points of view are come into play that to say, before we even have any evidence, because right now the only thing that's happening is the fires are trying to be put out.
Yes.
Once the fires are put out, then people go in and say, okay, we can actually start to track where this got started. When you know where it got started, you can kind of tell why, and then once we know why, we can kind of start to attribute blame. What's happening now is just absolutely insane, and it's been so just ball-faced on both sides.
But again, it's a sign of like the political polarization that's going on at the moment, and it's happening in America to a much greater extent, but here it's starting to catch on, right? So, like in America, people ended up doxing a dog that helped kill a terrorist because Trump liked the dog. And now it's like bushfires, people dying. How can I attack? Insert other side. And it's just stop. Get help.
I think people just don't like dogs.
Well, apparently, there's a subset of horrible people that don't like dogs and think bushfires are a good excuse to then stand on a fucking pedestal.
Yeah.
They just don't.
It's bizarre world, man.
It
there used
really
to be certain things that we could agree on. That would be, we like dogs and tragedies are bad.
Now it's like, well, hold up there, Emilio.
Exactly.
Don't be so radical.
First of all, how dare you suggest I can't ban dogs from pubs and that I shouldn't use
and dox
tragedies
them.
to... Yeah. Like, I just... Every now and again I think, oh, is the world really getting that polarized politically? You know, am I just feeding into the fake news hysteria? But then I see stuff like this and it's like, just get help.
You know what? Even though it's not something that plays out in society. It's obviously all the.
It's in the bubble.
Yeah, it's the blue check mark goblins, right? Making things this bad. But still, it is happening. This is rhetoric that is happening. It's political. It's going to influence to some degree or another what happens in Australia in terms of policy and the party and affiliations and ideology. So even if it's a small subsection, it's still, just cancerous. It's still bad that people would want to politicize anything from a dog to a tragedy. It's just ridiculous.
On that note, fuck the government.
Yeah.
I don't know really much. I don't know what else there is to say.
You know what? Not fuck all the government. Fuck the parts that will be left once we just completely cut it down to its most basic. That part of government I'm happy with.
Yeah.
I'm happy with firemen. I'm happy with police. I'm happy for people to come pick up the garbage.
Though,
rubbish.
Privatized firemen seems to be a thing in California. You've heard about this.
I don't know if that's replicable.
You heard about this? The fire crews in...
I have for like small community. I don't know if that's replicable across society to the degree that there'll be no more state firemen.
I have lots of opinion on firefighting because that was actually my first job.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well... my point being that when we get closer to the essentials, think that are close to home, letting councils be in charge of schools and pools and not climate change
and like divestments from Israel or something silly.
Yeah, something stupid like that. I think then I'll have a far better feeling towards the government, because Australia's fantastic. I love Australia, obviously, but yeah, the government definitely is not a friend of mine.
Yeah, we sound like cynics. At the end of the day, Australia's an inherently good nation.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a good nation because for a long time we haven't gone down this weird spiral of bullcrap. And we need to stop it because it's really... it's just infuriating, and it takes away from... This is going to sound so stupid, but it takes away from that whole Australian spirit of,
It does.
A laid-back attitude and just enjoying your own life.
Luckily, the majority of Australians are actually like that.
And
because the majority of Australians are like that, they agree more with us. Because if you have a prog and someone who's like on the center right describing to just a common day Aussie the issues, they're like, oh, well, what this blue haired dude is saying is kind of fact.
This is the thing, right? So, Labor's been soul searching, going like, why did we lose the election? Get Up spent millions of dollars. They threw money in Peter Dutton's electorate. The only head that they got was Tony Abbott's, and that was after millions of dollars thrown in one electorate. And they're sitting there wondering why they lost the election. It's like, maybe the same people who want to fundraise off bushfires don't quite know what gets the average Australian to vote for them.
You forget as well an app that completely shifted the political overtone in Australia.
Mission accomplished. We stopped shorten.
Stopped shorten. It was fantastic. I love the idea of having a bunch of people, a bunch of labor officials in a room really going over and soul searching and thinking, what did we do wrong? How could we have won this? Like,
have better policies and don't be so dismissive of the other side.
Unlikable candidates, terrible policies.
I mean, most Australians just want to be left alone, live their own lives. They don't really care what their neighbor's doing.
Exactly.
And they don't want to force their neighbor to think in a certain way or act in a certain way, and so they're happy.
Well, I mean, for me, a good pitch is not, hey, listen, we're going to raise all of your taxes. Your cost of living is going to go up. But it's okay, because 100 years from now, it might not get a little bit hotter. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to vote for the people who are saying, no, I'm going to cut your taxes and I'm going to make your business do well. Okay. You don't have to say that the Liberals are necessarily going to do that, but that was their pitch.
I know people that voted for the Liberals through gritted teeth just because they didn't like the campaigns that Labor were advocating on. Mm-hmm. I have a fair few friends like that are lifelong Labor voters that last election were like, wait, you're going to shut down a coal mine? I don't even work in a coal mine. I just work in another factory. But what if you turn around and decide that that's not an agreeable job?
Exactly.
So they don't understand that people in other industries have sympathy for other working class people. So then they go, well, I don't like the idea of you just shutting down a mine in central Queensland. Right. So I will, not vote for you. Not
even just sympathy between between Australians. Like for me, the concept of people in Adani, for example, a lot of people who happen to be Aboriginal, not that it's important, but it's good to provide jobs to the community, that they're just not going to be able to have the wealth and riches of the rest of the country because some people in Footscray are just kind of, not super keen on coal because social media tells them it's bad. That's enough to tell you, hey, I'm not going to vote for these guys. Yeah. Not to mention, oh, hang on, I'm already paying property tax, which is the price I need to pay to the government to own my own property every year. And you're going to say I have to pay more on top of that because I'm some kind of, elite, white, evil devil. That's also not an attractive pitch. Essentially, during a tragedy, for the love of God, let's just focus on getting people the help they need, support, and moral and financial, hopefully. And when it comes to dogs, if you don't like them, that's fine. But you don't have to.
No, it's not.
Don't have to, let's say freedom of association here, Emily. But please don't try to ruin dog-friendly bars for everyone else just because you're some weird anti-dog bigot. On that note, Emily and Brian, if there's any closing remarks you'd like to make, now's the time. There are no closing remarks, so we're gonna leave it there. This has been interesting. We'll talk next time. Thanks for listening to Antipod, a podcast by the Australian Taxpayers Alliance. If you care to know more about the ATA, visit their website, www.taxpayers.org, where you'll be able to see their mission statement, their projects, campaigns, objectives, and so much more. Remember, listening to the podcast is free, but creating it isn't. If you'd like to continue to see the Australian Taxpayers Alliance advocacy, please consider becoming a member or donating. You can do this on their website as well. This has been Antipod. We'll see you next time.